Good evening, I'm Chris Matthews in Washington. Let me start tonight with this. Out, damn spot. How do we rid this country of President Obama? How do we erase his name from the history books, from the history of our presidents? How do we at least put a giant asterisk next to him so that future generations studying in school will never believe the name Barack Hussein Obama truly belonged in the list of American presidents? First, they tried to say he wasn't born here, that he was unconstitutionally elected in the first place. Then they said about ruining any chance he had to build a presidential record. They wanted Barack Obama to do just one thing. They wanted him to leave. Then, of course, they tried defeating him for re-election. They even got down on their knees. They nominated a candidate to oppose him whom they didn't particularly like, didn't trust. His one selling point, which they bought in broad daylight, was that he was the best bet to do what they had set their hearts on, get Barack Obama out of the White House. And now with the years of the second term passing away comes the last gasp of the Obama haters. They want to impeach him. Maybe not get rid of him, but certainly smear him with the mark of personal condemnation. They keep changing their reasons, but that's no surprise, because to friend and foe alike, the reason for their wanting Obama destroyed was never a question of it, but of who. It's not what he's done as president, brought us back from the economic abyss, getting Osama bin Laden, but the fact that he dared enter that office and sit in that chair. For his nastiest enemies and those who secretly cheer them, that historic moment can never be forgiven and most certainly never forgotten. The quest to bring down Barack Obama will, it now seems, never come to an end. Michael Steele is an MSNBC political analyst and was chairman of the RNC, and Michael Tomasky is a special correspondent for the Daily Beast. Gentlemen, I make my case. This impeachment thing, let's look at the numbers right now. This is not a small, rogue group of Republicans. Right now, according to the CNN poll, should President Obama be impeached? Look at this number here, 57% want him kicked to the curb. This is amazing because the rest of the country as a whole, 65% don't agree with that thinking at all. Michael, how do you put that together?
I think it...
The difference between the Republican majority of the party you once led and the American people are so much at odds.
On this issue, we're clearly out of step. I mean, my attitude at this point is there are enough other things to talk about with what the president has done in foreign policy, the economy, jobs, all of that, that don't rise to this level of, talking about impeachment. And if you really want to give the House back to the Democrats, if you really don't want the Senate next year, and you want to take yourself out of any contention for presidential politics in 2016, file those articles of impeachment tomorrow. Just go ahead and do it. If you want to see where the American people really are, you want to see that 65%.
I know you're not in office right now, in political office, but if you're sitting in the Congress or the Senate, we're going to get to a case A of this, example A. If you're sitting in office, do you want to say right now, as you go into a general election and say a district that's fairly even, it's not a, it's not a slam dunk Republican district, do you want to announce for impeachment right now?
No, you don't. This is the last thing you want to talk about. Unless your district is bleeding red, this is the last thing any Republican in elected office wants to be talking about going into the fall campaign. Why? Because the American people don't give a damn about this issue. They're still concerned about the fact that they don't know what Obamacare is going to look like when the new premium levies come out.
I think they don't want you to say it because you don't want to say it. I don't think Republicans, before primaries, fine. Once the primaries are behind them, Michael, I don't think they want to say it because they're facing a general election out there. And according to our numbers, 65% of people, which may even include a majority in some of the tough red states, they think this is jackass behavior.
John Boehner doesn't.
And it's the behavior of some guy on a bar stool. Some guy on a bar stool can go, give me another beer and impeach that bastard. I can hear or somebody in your carpool. I mean, that's not what you're supposed to behave like as a congressperson.
It's 57% of their base voters. John Boehner doesn't want to say it, and a lot of other Republicans, maybe in the Senate, running for Senate in non-really conservative states, they don't want to say it. But Steve Scalise was on television.
Yeah, we're going to show him, right? We have the tape.
You have the tape.
Okay, first of all, this is the rub.
So
it's Chris Cillizza.
But okay.
Okay, speak your mind. Don't do that.
No, let's watch the tape. Let's watch the tape.
Okay, that's what I thought. Hey, Chris Cillizza, we love. He writes in today's Washington Post, quote, however Republican candidates come down on impeachment, they are doomed to alienate either the GOP base or moderate voters ahead in the November midterms. That's well said. And if you want to see poetry in motion, take a look at Republican whip, newly elected whip Steve Scalise of Louisiana on yesterday's Fox News Sunday, doing what he can do to avoid in any way taking a clear position on the issue. By the way, Chris Wallace did a good job on this guy. Let's watch.
Good.
Will you consider impeaching the president?
No, this might be the first White House in history that's trying to start the narrative of impeaching their own president. Ultimately, what we want to do is see the president follow the laws. But the president took an oath to faithfully execute the laws of this land, and he's not.
But impeachment is off the table.
Well, the White House wants to talk about impeachment, and ironically, they're going out and trying to fundraise off of that, too.
I'm asking you, sir.
Look, the White House will do anything they can to change the topic away from the president's failed agenda.
I like the way Chris did that politely. Yeah. I'm asking you, sir. I would have said, answer the question.
Right. Well, but that makes the point I was making.
Well, he's standing on a beach ball. Did you ever try to stand on a beach ball?
That's very hard.
That's what that guy was trying to do there.
It's a very hard thing to do, and I think Scalise and others recognize that this idea of impeachment does two things. One, it furthers the narrative for their base, and two, it's a fundraising tool. Beyond that, this thing does not have any serious traction. And as I go back to my point, if you really want to do it, then file the articles of impeachment and see how the American people respond. Because there are other things to fight this president over. This is not one of them.
I think the mere talk about it, which they're all doing now, and the people believe, is to smear the guy.
Well, sure.
But this isn't smearing the president.
It is.
With those 67% of voters who don't want it to happen?
Chris, it's their nature. Why does a scorpion sting? This is why they do it. They're going to do it. They're going to do it at some point. I used to think maybe if they got the Senate back, if they didn't get the Senate back, they probably wouldn't bother because they knew they couldn't get a Senate conviction. But I've really kind of
well,
changed
they'll have
that
to do
view.
something. If they get the Senate back, they don't have to impeach.
They want to do it for the reasons you said. They want to put that asterisk on his name.
Yeah. Republicans have used nearly every issue now, Benghazi, the debt ceiling, Gitmo, the AC, that's the health care bill, the border crisis now, Syria, of course, you name it, to threaten to impeach proceedings against President Obama. But people in the White House have never appeared to take them seriously. That's changing. This is senior White House advisor Dan Pfeiffer on Friday speaking very seriously about the Republican Party's impeachment fever.
I think a lot of people in this town laugh that off. I think it is, I would not discount that possibility. I think that Speaker Boehner, by going down the path of this lawsuit, has opened the door to Republicans possibly considering impeachment at some point in the future. And I think that that the president acting on immigration reform will certainly up the likelihood that they would contemplate impeachment at some point.
Wow. Well, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest isn't laughing it off either. This is Earnest, I love that name, sparring with reporters on Friday who openly wondered if the Democrats were using the issue of impeachment to raise money by themselves.
Do you really believe that the president could be impeached?
Well, I think that there are senior members of the Republican political party, are certainly prominent voices in the Republican Party who are calling for exactly that.
And this sounds like a fundraising ploy, a political ploy, not a real thing. You don't really think the president is going to be impeached, do you?
Well, Jim, I think that there are some Republicans, including some Republicans who are running for office, hoping they can get into office so that they can impeach the president. That is apparently a view that they have hold because it's one that they have repeatedly expressed publicly.
Well, Charles Blow, one of my favorite columnists from the New York Times, attacked the Republican Party for its crusade against President Obama the other day. He described it like this. There is an insatiable vengeance lust for the haughty president who refuses to bend under pressure or fold under duress. He must be brought to heel. He must be chastened. He must be broken. So House Republicans are throwing the red meat into the cage.
Yeah, they are. I think but this is not what the country wants right now. The country doesn't want to see you throwing red meat. They want to see you solving problems. And
well, you keep telling me this, and you agree, I get your judgment. But why is your former confreres on that Republican Party side doing it?
Well, because you're talking about two different strata of activism here. You've got the congressional leadership who, as you saw with Scalise, is just not, they're not feeling this. They get
Why didn't he answer the question?
Because he's on that beach ball. Because if he sits there and goes, no, I'm not for impeachment, guess what happens in 3 minutes after that hits the air?
The Tea Party has a new candidate for whip.
And if he goes out and he says, yes, we are for impeachment, guess what happens to all the money
let me give you an example.
In the party?
Fredo. Let's talk about Fredo for a minute. John Boehner.
Sitting in that boat.
No, John Boehner actually said when Luke Russert Luke Russell asked him, are you for impeachment rather than this the suing the president? He said, I disagree. So at least Fredo at the top was willing to stand up to him.
Well, he has to say
Well, he has to. What else is he going to do?
He's the one who...
I'm talking about the brother and the godfather. Those of you are not godfather crazy. Fredo was the weak brother. He's my brother, but he's weak, Michael said. Go ahead.
He's really the only one who absolutely has to say no, and I guess McConnell has to say no. Other than that, they can dance on the beach ball as much as they want. Scalise, Steve King, I loved this one, where Boehner said about the border crisis that Obama has the ability to solve that unilaterally, and Steve King comes back and says, if he tries to deal with it unilaterally, I'm going to support articles of impeachment against him. This is the game that's going to be played.
Okay, we got to finish this up here. Let's be seers, prophets. Will the Boehner salient of going with an alternative, which is to sue the president, will that satisfy the right wing?
It should, but likely won't, because they're going to stoke the flames on impeachment.
Still.
Right wing will probably be smart enough to stay relatively quiet through November, but ultimately absolutely not.
I think it's going to come up at town meetings right to the election, and they're never going to have the nerve not to say they're for it, like Scalise. He'll skate on it or stand on that beach ball.
Stand on that beach ball.
We've created a metaphor. Thank you, Michael Steele and Michael Tomasky.